Hello and welcome everyone. We will wait a minute or so. I see there's a good number of attendees have joined, but we expect quite a few more, and I see it ticking up as I talk. So perhaps we'll just give it another minute, and then we can start. We've got our colleagues from Enercan and colleagues from IRENA, and thank you to my Director General Rosalind for joining us as well. So we'll start in just 1 minute. Okay, yeah, I still see that the numbers ticking up, so just a little bit and I'll kick off the webinar. Okay, it seems to have stabilized for the minute. So I'll start now. So I'd like to welcome you all to the International Renewable Energy Agency webinar offered to you by BVH Clean Tech and Climate Finance teams and our colleagues at Natural Resources Canada. I'd like to thank you for being here. My name is Ian Williams, the Renewable Energy Lead on the Clean Tech team. Before we start the webinar, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping rules. First, I'll note that all the lines are muted by default. And until we open the floor for questions at the conclusion of the presentations, you'll be on mute. If you have questions during the presentation, I'd ask you to use the chat function, and then we'll consolidate and raise questions at the end of the presentations. And then once that's done, we'd ask you to use the raise your hand function, and then we can open your microphones and have a good dialogue at that point, time permitting. I'd also note that the webinar is being recorded and will be made available online for trade commissioners who aren't able to attend or who have to leave during the presentations. We'll share this in the coming days. After the webinar, if you'd like additional information on IRENA, Canada's membership in IRENA, or I'd like to connect to IRENA on a specific topic, you can connect through our Enercan colleague, Michael Panescu, or you can reach out through myself. We can connect you. We'll also provide the contact information for the speakers if you want to reach out directly. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Rosalind Kwan, Director General of the Trade Sectors Branch. As Director General for Trade Sectors at Global Affairs Canada, Rosalind leads a team that serves Canadian companies in key sectors, including tech, infrastructure, ICT, aerospace, automotive, life sciences, financial services, creative industries as part of the Trade Commissioner Service. Prior to her current position, Rosalind was Executive Director at Global Affairs Canada, responsible for Southeast Asia, where she oversaw Canada's multilateral engagement with APEC and the Association of Asian Nations. Rosalind has served in Canada's diplomatic missions abroad in New Delhi and Taipei as Senior Trade Commissioner, as well as in Beijing. She has broad government experience through her work at the Privy Council Office, Revenue Canada, and Statistics Canada. Rosalind holds a Bachelor of Science from McGill University, Math and Computer Science, and an International Masters of Business Admin from the University of Ottawa. Rosalind, over to you.
Thanks, Ian. Can everybody hear me? Thanks, Ian. I think that's much more than anybody ever want to know about me. So thank you for organizing this morning. Let me take the opportunity to echo Ian's words of welcome and thank everybody for this morning's webinar on IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency. I say this morning because this morning is in Ottawa, but I do know that we have colleagues from around the world. For those who are joining us, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, we thank you for joining us. And it should be a very interesting session. So we look forward to running through it with you. Je suis Rosalind Kwan, directrice générale de la Direction générale des secteurs commerciaux. So I'm Rosalind Kwan, as Ian mentioned, Director General for Trade Sectors at Global Affairs Canada. En tant que membre du secteur du développement du commerce international, notre mandat est de fournir au réseau de services des délégués commerciaux les connaissances, les outils et les réseaux pour vous aider à mieux servir les entreprises canadiennes dans le domaine. And so first up, I would very much like to thank our partners for collaborating with us to deliver the webinar today, including our partner department colleague, Mr. Michael Panescu from Natural Resources Canada, Mr. Ahmed Badr, IRENA's Acting Director, Project Facilitation and Support, Mr. Jeff Vincent, Program Officer, Renewable Energy Finance at IRENA, and Mr. Jose Taron, IRENA's Regional Program Officer, Latin America and Caribbean. They are also spread out internationally around the world, just like us, so that we have many points in common, one of which is that. On the theme today, renewable energy, it is an important sector, as we all know, for the Trade Commissioner Service. Renewable energy firms, including solar, wind, hydro, waste-to-energy, energy storage, and smart grid firms make up 40% of Trade Commissioner Service clean tech clients and 40% of Trade Commissioner clean tech successes. When we look more closely at these clients, it reveals that Canada's leading strengths in project development, engineering consulting, and specialty services are areas that we are busy working on, and firms in this sector do well in developing markets, such as Africa, accounting for 23% of renewable energy successes, as we track them through the Trade Commissioner Service. These Canadian renewable energy strengths in developing markets dovetail well with IRENA's mission to support countries in their transition to a sustainable energy. Today, we will learn about IRENA, Canada's membership to IRENA, and how we, as trade commissioners, can leverage these tools to help Canadian renewable energy companies succeed in international markets. IRENA's climate investment platform, which aims to mobilize investments to scale up climate action, can support our climate finance business development agenda to help Canadian firms access climate finance. Developed countries have agreed to mobilize US $100 billion a year in climate finance by 2020 to address mitigation and adaptation needs of developing countries. Canada is currently delivering on its pledge to provide $2.65 billion in climate finance to support developing countries' transition to low-carbon, climate-resilient economies. Pour sa part, l'équipe de développement des affaires de financement climatique au sein des services des délégués commerciaux aide les entreprises canadiennes ayant des projets verts dans un pays en développement, y compris dans certains marchés émergents où la croissance est la plus rapide au monde, ce qui contribue à l'avancement des priorités du gouvernement du Canada en matière de croissance et de diversification du commerce. The global transition to a low carbon, low pollution, and resource efficient economy is an opportunity for Canada and Canadian firms. Through the Pan-Canadian Framework on Clean Growth and Climate Change, Canada is committed to exceed its 2030 emissions reduction goal of 30% below 2005 levels, and has begun work that can achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Canada's clean technology companies are well positioned to compete and win in this global market. Since budget 2017, the government has announced more than $3.4 billion to support clean technology in Canada. And the growth of Canadian firms, including $15 million for the Trade Commissioner Service International Business Development Strategy, is part of that. Through this Clean Tech International Business Development Strategy and your hard work in the field, the Trade Commissioner Service is supporting the mandates of ISED, NRCan, ECCC to position Canada as a global leader in clean technology. By participating in today's webinar, we're confident that you'll walk away with an increased understanding of IRENA, Canada's membership in IRENA, and how to leverage both to help Canadian firms succeed in international markets. So again, with that, we thank you for joining. Et merci encore de vous joindre à nous, and I will now turn it back to Ian, our moderator.
Thank you, Rosalind. And now I also have the pleasure to introduce Enercan's Michael Ponescu, who will say a few words on behalf of the Director General of Electricity Resources Branch, Marco Prezzuti, who was pulled away at the last minute and unfortunately couldn't join us. Michael's the Deputy Director of Policy, Renewable and Electrical Energy at the Electricity Resources Branch of Natural Resources Canada. Over the past 17 years, Michael has contributed to the analysis, design, and implementation of numerous So Michael, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ian. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Michael Ponescu, and I'm the Deputy Director of Renewable Energy Policy in the Electricity Resources Branch at Natural Resources Canada. Our branch is the government main point of contact with IRENA and has the mandate to deliver Canada's participation in the agency. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us and thank the IRENA colleagues for their openness and responsiveness in organizing this first virtual meeting dedicated to international trade. Before I let Ahmed and his team talk to you about IRENA and the tools it offers, I wanted to go over why IRENA matters to Canada and provide an overview of our relationship with the agency. As you may be aware, the government of Canada has committed to become a net zero emitter by 2050. Achieving this ambitious target will be challenging, but we begin with a head start. We are a clean power leader with 82% of our electricity coming from non-emitting sources. Our expertise in hydro is globally recognized and has enabled Canada to become the third largest hydro producer in the world, and this is just one example. However, electricity currently represents only about 20% of Canada's energy use. Moving forward, generating more electricity from renewables to power our industries, buildings, and transportation will be a key strategy for a successful transition to a low carbon future. This is a global challenge. Membership in IRENA gives Canada an opportunity to participate in and contribute to the international dialogue to accelerate the transition, share its expertise, and benefit from the contribution of others. Canada is a recent member of IRENA, having joined in January 2019. Since our accession, we have been working to establish a productive and collaborative relation with the agency. This has led to participation of IRENA Secretariat in a number of national and international events in Canada, in addition to a series of meetings between IRENA Director General and other executives in IRENA and the Minister of Natural Resources and departmental senior leadership. We have also been working to bring forward Canadian initiative. I would mention the creation of a multi-stakeholder global platform for transitioning remote communities to renewable energy, and the organization of an innovation day was supposed to be done this year, but for obvious reasons was postponed to 2021. IRENA has recently launched a number of collaborative frameworks on, to facilitate international collaboration around various aspects of renewable energy technologies, including the geopolitics of the energy transition. Canada has already signaled its intent to participate in those initiatives, seeking membership in them, which will enable us to raise Canada profile, would enable us to learn from other countries' best practices and share our expertise. We are also looking at increasing our presence in IRENA governance structure, which includes the General Assembly, the Council, and the two committees on finance and administration and program and strategy. This is why Canada is seeking a seat at the IRENA Council for 2021-2022 and membership in the Program and Strategy Committee. Canada renewable energy industry is also getting involved in IRENA. A number of companies and national industry associations are already participating in IRENA bodies, such as the Geothermal Alliance and the Coalition for Action. The Climate Investment Platform, which you'll hear about more about today, is a new way for companies to get involved in IRENA, generate international opportunities, as well as support information sharing and technology and know-how transfers. I'm excited to have the Trade Commissioner Office participating today. Your knowledge of Canada's renewable and clean energy industry and networks you have built represent great assets that can help us raise awareness about IRENA and opportunities available. With this, I give the floor back to you, Ian. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Great. Thank you, Michael. I was told I cut out a bit during Michael's intro. Apologies, but I'll leave my camera off and I should have better band. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ahmed Badr, Acting Director, Project Facilitation and Support Division at IRENA. Ahmed is the Acting Director of IRENA's Project Facilitation and Support Division, a new division that offers member countries dedicated project implementation support. Mr. Badr took up the position in April 2020 and brings more than 30 years of international experience in the field of banking and finance. In his role, he's tasked with leading the development of the division while spearheading the agency's implementation of the climate investment platform and multi-stakeholder platform and established in partnership with Sustainable Energy for All, the UNDP, and in coordination with the Green Climate Fund to streamline access to climate funding for developing countries and advance renewable deployment. Prior to joining IRENA, Mr. Badr held several senior operational positions in the field of climate change, renewable energy, energy efficiency, water and infrastructure projects in a number of multinational financial institutions, including the World Bank, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, European Commission, and Japan Bank for International Cooperation. Mr. Badr is a certified infrastructure project manager with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a master's degree in infrastructure economics from the Université de Nantes in France. So Ahmed, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ian, for your introduction. Actually, it's very interesting to hear Rosaline and Michael's perspectives on electricity, resources, and trade. That was really very informative. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are in the world. I am the Acting Director of IRENA, newly formed Division for Project Facilitation and Support that focuses on supporting countries in identifying and facilitating demand-driven bankable projects by operationalizing a variety of partnerships to successfully connect countries' needs to investment and help transform local renewable energy markets and accelerate global energy transition. I would like to thank you all for joining us today for this important webinar to discuss IRENA's mission and its activities in project facilitation and finance of renewable energy. Actually, having spent $4.7 million on official development assistance in 2019, Canada has been demonstrating an active role in furthering global developments globally. And Canada's international development vision has an overarching focus on gender equality, inclusive growth, environment, and climate action. These developments priorities largely intersect with IRENA's work, and we appreciate that the Canadian government is actively supporting Canadian companies to become acquainted with and utilize our project facilitation newly developed platform and tools to further their important work globally in building a more sustainable energy future. We hope that Canada's trade commissioners today who are present with us will benefit from this webinar, and that together we can facilitate and enhance impactful renewable energy efficiency projects on the ground, and to increase our collaboration more and more, not only on the strategy side as elaborated by Michael, but also on the project side with all trade commissioners globally. A few words actually about the challenges associated with renewable energy financing. I think it's very important to set the scene for that. That analysis undertaken by IRENA suggested that creating a climate-safe energy solution calls for $110 trillion worth of investment in energy sector by 2015, compared to 95 trillion be redirected from fossil fuel investment to clean technologies. There is an urgent need to identify innovative and rapid solutions for the financing of this energy transformation. This is an ambitious to bring together an array of stakeholders from across the renewable energy value chain. Without such a focus on effective financing, otherwise viable and valuable adding projects may fail to achieve their intended benefits. It is recognized that financial discipline and an understanding of funders' concern are central to making many projects on the ground reality. Some of the key barriers in the financing of renewable energy include insufficient project level financing and also lack of equity, high cost of projects development, and an absence of an economy of scale relating to smaller implementations, as well as lack of relevant legal and regulatory framework to facilitate investment. Also, it includes insufficient, adequate, and systematic knowledge on project development and investment readiness, among others. We believe that IRENA is well positioned to help overcome many of these challenges by facilitating necessary operational and strategic fit dialogue, and by catalyzing action among all relevant stakeholders. In final, let me give a few words about IRENA and its new project facilitation divisions, the divisions that have been created a few months ago. In this context, let me basically clarify that IRENA, as leading organization in the renewable energy space that have champions on renewable energy, that have champion role in the renewable energy transition globally, we have now focused and have clear mandate abroad with our membership based on strong engagement over the past decade to establish this new part of the supporting projects to come into reality, while retaining focus on our robust analytical and convening work. We are also strengthening our on-the-ground engagement to facilitate bankable projects with a view to achieve global sustainability and clean, affordable energy systems to our membership. We work towards facilitating public and private investments in renewable energy and in energy efficiency as well. We have recently created a dedicated institutional space for project facilitation with the formation of our project facilitation team, which I'm happy and I'm proud to lead this team. Currently, with the support of UNDP, Sustainable Energy for All, and in coordination with Green Climate Fund, we are working together operationalization of the new climate investment platform. The CIP aims to foster partnership between a spectrum of stakeholders to scale up the climate action and translate ambition of the NDCs into concrete investment on the ground. We are also working on enhancing our project facilitation tools, such as risk assessment and mitigation platform that my colleague Jeff will present together with Jose. Also, another tools we have, what we call it open solar contract, sustainable energy marketplace, project navigator in a new revised version, and new tools that will come very soon, like wind open contract, to offer a broad spectrum of services that help project developers globally in order to have their investment bankable in the ground. We can also provide more detailed information on each of these tools after the presentation through communication by email. With our improved and harmonized tool set and more to add, we believe that we will be able to maximize our support to improve local renewable energy markets and by boosting investment and access to finance for project proponents, including very strong partnership that we are now building with our financial development institution who partnered with us. We have now more than a dozen of them, starting with World Bank, Mega, EBRD, African Development Bank, and more. And we hope also to have more partners on that front from the Canadian banking sector as well as corporate sector in order to put them in the ground with us. And we believe that today's discussion will initiate such important partnership to happen. Finally, we also plan to bring together stakeholders situated along the value chain of renewable energy, dedicated for that important elements of the industry. And it was originally envisaged that the forums or the investment forums that would commence within CIP from the second half of 2020 to be happened. However, due to the mobility constraint associated with COVID-19, their launch has been postponed until next year. And I'm sure my colleagues Jose and Jeff will provide more information about the investment forum that will basically the main venue for these partnerships and deals to be happened. Our objective is to catalyze the creation of functioning project finance markets and to create viable project pipeline in renewable energy and energy efficiency. And we hope our Canadian friends and partners will be keen to join us on our project facilitation endeavors around the world. We look forward to the opportunity to greet you at our forthcoming investment forum, in which we will keep informing our colleagues from the NRC Canada to basically ensure that you are all invited and you are all in. At final, I would like to provide the turn to IRENA colleagues. A cornerstone of achieving our mandate finally is to include our bankability assessment, and we are keen, or we have been designing a sophisticated approach that the four function pillars of the CIP will basically ensure such a kind of bankability. In a very quick way, these pillars are basically all projects that CIP will be working on will be demand driven to support the IRENA memberships. Second, all projects will be following what we call it SMART principle, standing for sustainable, specific projects, measurable, attainable, and realistic one, and to be achieved in a timely manner. And third, it will be strategically fit to the objective of project proponents and basically working on the best practice of bankability. And our bankability and investor readiness assessment ensure that the projects submitted to the CIP were to be reviewed on financing institutions that have the best opportunity for them to finance. We consider economic, financial, social, technical, and environmental factors assessing very important for the projects to be materialized in a bankable way. We also understand our members' markets, political, legislative environment, and the importance to also set aside or mitigate the risk associated with these projects. We do all this to ensure, under the CIP, to ensure that projects can access the most suitable financing solution among our CIP financing partners. And by that, actually, I would like to invite all trade commissioners to take a closer look at our project facilitation platform and the CIP and the associated tools, and to join us in our forthcoming investment forum. And we would like really very much welcome your contribution of the Canadian renewable energy sectors, providers, manufacturers, and all economies at all provinces and supplies and funders to take active part of this kind of interaction under the CIP platform. I would like really to hand over to my colleague Jose via Ian, who will basically introduce IRENA institutional structure together with Jeff for the operational details of this important initiative. And I thank you all. Hand over to Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmad. And I would hand it over to Jose, as you mentioned, who will speak about IRENA, and then from there he can hand it over to Jeff. So Jose, thanks.
Thank you very much, Ian. Hi, how are you? Good morning. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you. My name is Jose Toron. I'm the regional program officer for Latin America and the Caribbean. I will give you a brief overview of IRENA and tools and platforms that the agency offers. So if we can go back a couple of slides, please. Yes, there, thank you. So IRENA was established in 2011. Its headquarters are in the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. There's also the Innovation and Technology Center in Bonn, Germany. And also we have an office in New York City as a permanent observer to the United Nations. The agency's mandate is to promote the widespread adoption and sustainable use of all forms of renewable energy. And we do so through our member countries. Can we have the next slide? As it was said before, Canada became a member in 2011, actually the 160th member of the agency. We right now have 161 members and 22 states in accession of becoming one. Next, please. So the agency has several regional initiatives across the globe. As you can see in this slide, we have regional initiatives in Southeast Europe, in Latin America, in Central Asia, in Southeast Asia, and in regions through Africa. And we also have these clean energy corridors initiatives in Central America and also in the southern part of Africa in order to support countries through the energy transition. Next, please. There are several tools and platforms which I'm just going to briefly mention that IRENA provides. The resource, this is a repository of information. Actually, the biggest repository of free information regarding renewable energy. Here you can find specific data and statistics of several, of countries across the globe regarding renewable energy and their potential, and really a lot of information that can help do in-depth analysis. Also, the Global Atlas platform, this helps identify renewable potential through countries. This is an online platform that can be easily accessed and can identify in each and every country what are the potential for the renewable resources available in each region and their specific potential, very pinpointed. It's a very useful platform that again can be freely used. Also, as Ahmed was mentioning, the climate investment platform. The intention of this platform, I mean, it was created with alongside with UNDP, SC4All, the Green Climate Fund, and it intends to accelerate investments in renewable energy. This is going to be spoken of later on by my colleague Jeff, a little bit more in depth. So IRENA is also a partner of the climate investment platform. And finally, we have the investment forums, which also were mentioned by Ahmed. The idea of these investment forums is for several stakeholders to participate and to accelerate the energy transition through investment, through the preparation of bankable projects in order to scale up the renewable energy uptake. So there are also some initiatives. I think that Michael also mentioned before how Canada was taking part in Coalition for Action and the Global Geothermal Alliance. IRENA also offers its member countries a renewable readiness assessment, which basically assesses also the potential that the country has to scale up the uptake of renewable energy. And I also already mentioned the clean energy corridors. The idea of these are also further integration of energy grids and energy efforts in general by countries in specific regions. Can we have the next slide? So the analysis and data that the agency produces, it's quite relevant. Can we have the next one? Just a few weeks ago, the agency published the Global Renewables Outlook. It's a very robust study in which it is outlined how investments in specific technologies of renewable energy can help decarbonize energy systems. It's a very in-depth study with a lot of information. Also, recently the agency published the post-COVID recovery study, in which also investments are analyzed, and specific investments that can help countries recover. I mean, scale up also the economic recovery regarding the actual pandemic. This study goes very in depth. It also takes on job creation that can help economies move forward. And also the renewable energy statistics. These are just these 4 latest studies and the most relevant studies that can be accessed through IRENA channels. The renewable energy technology cost covers just the cost at the end of 2019. How the cost for taking on renewable energy have gone down in the last decade or so, very dramatically. So all this information can be found again through IRENA channels. Next one, please. So it was mentioned before, the IRENA Coalition for Action. This is a very relevant initiative partnership that IRENA has. It takes on over 100 renewable energy players in private sector companies, industry associations through several countries. The idea is to discuss industry trends and determine specific actions to accelerate the renewable energy uptake and the energy transition. This specific group has activities and working groups. There's the business and investors group. The idea of this group is to it engages in activities and addresses barriers to scale up the renewable energy investments, specifically in emerging markets. Other group is the community energy group. This one focuses on driving community energy investment and empower communities to get their citizens to participate in energy decision making, which is so very relevant through emerging markets. There's also the decarbonizing end use sector group that works on the decarbonization of end use sectors, and towards 100 renewable energy group which examines the roles of key actors in the energy transformation. So this is an initiative that includes, it's very inclusive of different types of groups and the civil society through several countries, and this is something in which IRENA is really participating and getting their member countries to participate more in depth. So can we have the next one? This is it on my side. This was a very brief overview of the agency, but we can discuss further bilaterally with whoever is interested in. I'm gonna leave this to my colleague Jeff Vincent to continue on the climate investment platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, José. Messieurs, Mesdames, un grand bonjour depuis Abu Dhabi. Very big welcome from Abu Dhabi. So I have a quite lengthy presentation and I will rush through it because I think it's important to leave some time for questions afterwards, knowing that anyway you will receive the soft copy of the presentation and you will always be able to contact us if you have any question. Next slide, please. I will have three parts. One, I want to cover the CIP initiative as such. After that, I will explain one specific activity where IRENA is taking the lead, is on risk mitigation. And the second activity where IRENA is taking the lead and is on project facilitation and matchmaking. So the climate investment platform, and from now on I'll talk about CIP, is a recent initiative. So it started, in fact, so we had the first work groups with SE4All, Green Climate Fund and UNDP early September last year. And we made an announcement at the Climate Action Summit in New York in September. And from then on, we started to try to do the real work. Next slide. The key of the climate investment platform is that when you all work in countries and you see so many different initiatives that are taken by so many different entities, by the European Commission, I'm sure also by Canada, by the World Bank, by African Development Bank in Africa. So there are so many initiatives that all have more or less the same ambition: increase investments in renewable energy, make sure that the countries have enabling and regulation. And for an investor, for a bank, it becomes increasingly confusing to understand who is doing what and how can I work here. It's also increasingly confusing for governments who receive technical assistance programs that all are doing more or less the same and sometimes with different messages. So the idea is that there's a lot of clutter and we try to declutter. And so climate investment platform is not meant to be a competitor to all the existing initiatives, but we try rather to channel the investors, the bankers, to the right solution so that they can access to what they need in the most efficient way. Next slide. We work on 4 different, we call them tracks. On one hand, there's an initiative that is led by UNDP, but with the strong support of IRENA, with others like REN21 and the NDC partnerships that helps countries to develop ambitious climate targets. NDC's nationally determined contributions are set every 5 years. 2020 is a critical year, and we are really helping the policymakers to make sure that they have ambitious targets, but also realistic targets. Once you have ambitious target as a country, you have to make sure that the policies, the regulations, they all help to attract the investments that are needed to achieve these targets. The investments, they cannot come from the country alone. They cannot come from the multilateral and the bilateral financial institutions alone. The massive source of investments will be from the private sector. Private sector, and here I'm moving to track 3, will look at investment and will see that there are, for a given project, a number of problems are still there. The country may be weak, may have a very low rating, the the off-taker may not be creditworthy, etc. And that's where there are tools and there are institutions that are providing de-risking instruments that help to make a non-bankable project bankable. And finally, once a project is situated in a country that enables investments, once the major risks have been identified and have been transferred, then the matter is to find the right partner. Partner can be the DFI that is providing grants, the DFI, the multilateral that is giving concessional loans, the commercial bank that can step in, the investors, the investment funds, etc. Next slide, please. Yep, and that is where we have set up our website, IRENA for CIP, where we try to develop all the solutions for the private investors that want to operate in a more, let's say, in a challenging environment. Next slide. So why IRENA? Well, I think there are a lot of reasons, and you see them there. I think, well, first of all, we are fully dedicated to renewable energy. We know the market, we know the governments, we have a lot of partnerships, and we are perceived as neutral. And I think that's very important when you have a multilateral institution like African Development Bank that offers a platform. The suspicion will always be, oh, but they have their own agenda. We have no agenda. We just want to make it happen, and we will do that in the most pragmatic way, and reaching out to all the potential parties that can help a given project. Next slide. Okay. Here I will really rush. What happened time that the ones that provided insurance for renewable energy projects were little. You had MEGA from the World Bank, and then you had export credit agencies like EDC in Canada, and that was about it. Over the last years, when more and more new initiatives have been created, European Commission has pledged 1.5 billion euro on de-risking of projects in Africa. Not only renewable energy, but still a big part to energy. You have multilaterals just like Asian Development Bank, African Development Bank that are issuing partial risk guarantees. There are blended finance initiatives like Garantco that are also de-risking only local currency. In the end, it becomes very messy. And what we try to do, sorry, can you go 3-4 slides further? And what we try to do is try to understand who is doing what, who is protecting, who can cover which risks, in which country, and what are the eligibility criteria, what is the diligence process, so that a project owner or a trade commissioner or a bank in a matter of seconds can find out a chart for off-taker risk, who could potentially help to protect this project. That's one thing that we are doing. You can move on. We also set up a help desk to give advice to project owners, to lenders, to trade commissioners on a given situation. Sometimes the lingo of guarantees and insurance is very complicated. There are different providers of risk mitigation. Some of them are extremely risk averse. Others are quite risk friendly and are willing to take significant risk. So we help to clarify the landscape and give advice to in which direction for a given project you can go. And on this, so we have about 40. Next slide. We have a bit more than 40 participants who insurance companies, guarantees, multilateral banks that have given information about their products and that you can consult. Is it needed to do that? Yes, for all the reasons that you see in the screen. It's renewable energy risks are really very, very different from any other risk. It's so long, you cross 4 different election periods. The cost of technology has gone down so fast that all the old projects are now being challenged. There's so many actors, so there's a lot of reasons why we should really focus on a specific platform for renewable energy. Next slide. Yeah, so you see here the next slide, that's all the different types of participants. Next slide. Hello, yeah, next slide. Yeah, so the next step is that we are trying to match projects with the financial institutions that really can help them. It's a complicated world. Many small-scale, medium-sized developers even do not know half of the different solutions that are available, where you can find grants, where you can find concessional loans, and that is what we try to make a bit more transparent. Next slide. So on one hand, if you go to the website, and we'll provide you the link later, on one hand, we are sourcing partners. Partners can be, you'll see later, can be multilaterals, can be bilateral banks, can be commercial investors and investment funds, etc. They all have something that some project need, but not everywhere, and there are different conditions. And we try to understand who is doing what in this side. On the other hand, we are sourcing projects. We used to do that through different platforms in the past. Now we do it through the climate investment platform. So projects that have a specific need can register with us. The registration takes 5 minutes. Same for the partners, by the way. And then we will engage with them, try to understand where they are, what they do, what they have already done, what they have achieved, and what their needs are. We will make an independent assessment bring the project to the level that is required by our partners, and then we organize the matchmaking through the investment forums or in another way. Next slide. Yeah, so that's the registration. Registration of partner, less than 5 minutes, controlled myself. Registration of projects takes probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that's all. It's very, very simple. The next steps will be a bit more complicated because then we really will ask for a lot of information. Next slide. That gives you an idea of who our partners are. There are big institutions, there are smaller institutions, there are complicated institutions. So it takes some time to find your way and to understand where and when they can have an intervene. And I think that is one of the main added values that we provide, is that we try to have a good overview of the capabilities of each institution. Next slide. Yeah, figures. I think, I mean, you can go over the, so we have a lot of partners, not all of them are really relevant. We have 162 projects to which we can add another 100 on which we were already working. So we're working on projects mainly in sub-Saharan Africa and in small islands, very few so far in South America. But I think right now we're holding back a bit. We don't make too much publicity because we need to have the workforce and the resources to absorb all the new registrations and to do all our own assessment. Next slide. Yeah, there's the last one. So we are, as Jose mentioned, we're organizing investment platforms starting next year. The idea is to have physical matchmaking events where we really put investors and bankers and all the financial institutions in front of the project, so where they can pitch. But it's also a unique opportunity to bring key stakeholders in renewable energy investments together. That's governments, it's lenders, it's investors, it's project developers. Because when you bring only two of these together, they always find a way to put the blame on the one who's absent. And I think that in investment forums, we'll try to have really regionally, on a regional basis, bring all these parties together to really go to the bottom and make sure that everybody understands what his part is to make the renewable energy investments happening. I think that's it. Next slide. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jose and Ahmad, for your informative presentations. We have a few questions, but I think I'd start with a couple that that I had from the beginning. First one is to you, Ahmed. You mentioned support from the UNDP, Sustainable Energy for All, with the Green Climate Fund, and IRENA's climate investment platform, and the project facilitation tools such as the ramp. Am I right in saying that the tools are geared more focused on developing countries? And as a follow-up, what resources would you point to for Trade Commissioner colleagues who are in developed countries that they could use?
Thank you, Ian, very much for your question, and I congratulate you for this important question because it will provoke a lot of important key issues that I would like to share with you and all Trade Commissioner colleagues who are around the mic with us today. Actually, it is, I would say these all tools are geared to all IRENA membership countries, whatever developing countries or developed countries. Just to give you an example, we have also similar webinar that we already plan to do with the similar structure of Trade Commissioner of Canada, but this time is with the government of Norway, who are basically also wanted to go and to invest with the support of their respective government to invest in Africa, and mainly their tools and their investment around financial de-risking. That's why, the tools is for not only for developing, it's for developing and developed countries. And actually, specifically for the tools and what could be offered for Trade Commissioner, let me tell you something here, Ian, and allow me to take one more minute, but it's very relevant. As Jeff mentioned in his presentation, looking at the type of risks and the type of tool that is needed for renewable energy is very comprehensive, very diversified, and every, I would say every quarter of a year, there is some kind of development in these tools. Why is that? Because the technology is still prematured, and actually the trade competition that moving the technology between newly developed technologies or technological solution, while on the other hand, coming on emerging markets specifically about price. Like for example, for solar PV industry, the competition now, because the technology is almost settled and matured, it goes on the direction of competition over price. This in some way making what we call it market stagnation. And here the value added of IRENA is to come with its tools to make some kind of deblocking of definition and to provide what we call it strategic fit bankable solutions that I explained in my speech and then presented by Jose and by Jeff. So in renewable energy in another sector, just to give an example, among other like wind, renewable energy sector, or biofuel, or green technology, or green hydrogen, the key solution should come mainly from a manufacturer, which is a very starting element or ring of the value chain for renewable energy projects. And the Trade Commissioner in that sense to look at what is already in the Canadian industry is very important. I'm just wanted to give this example to tell you we have, and this is basically what CIP is going to do, because matchmaking under the CIP will not going to be happen on the digital platform. It will be on physical presence along 14 sub-regional clusters, which is basically the investment forum will be looking at globally. And IRENA providing several tools. And I would like to start with the most important tool, which is the CIP itself. The CIP itself, through the creation of this, what I call it, project fit, dedicated institutional space, the BFS team is currently equipped with a lot of good sources in terms of financial tools like what Jeff have presented, or human resources like Jeff, like myself, and other very senior staff there, would like to handle it on case by case of projects in a very specific legally light arrangement to ensure confidentiality and with no any kind of financial or legal obligation on the developers, on the trade commissioner to come. The idea here is that we would like to make implement the investments in renewable energy bankable in no time, on case by case basis. And I have to share here something very important, that over the past few months, because the CIP is only operationalized few months ago, we achieved some quick wins that we presented during the report of the DG to the council, that I'm very happy that Canada will join as of next year. But the issue here is that we have achieved a lot of good cases, including some of which with project developers. And project developers, he's talking about consortium, or we call them foreign direct investors. And for sure, manufacturers and key chain suppliers along the value chain are always member part, mainly the manufacturer of the key machines, whatever solar PV panel or wind turbine groups, and the Trade Commissioner of Canada, and with the industry and the number that I mentioned of billions in my speech, is very, very proven that there is a need for Canadian industry to come and join through Trade Commissioner. And I will close my intervention by saying I would really encourage, if you can basically ask all trade commissioners around with us today that in case of any project opportunity, they contact us, and we immediately come on board and provide all needed advice with our experience, with our connections, and also with all facilitation tool we have. And again, there's no any financial interest, with no legal obligation on their side, just want to have the project to be matchmaking. I stop here, and I hope I answer. Thank you very much, Ian.
Great, thank you very much. And it's a bit of a good segue into another question that was just asked. Is there a cost for project sponsors to register a project in the CIP and its re-risking project facilitation platforms?
Maybe I can answer that. So your question, Ian, is what does a project sponsor have to do to be part of the platform? Ian, was that the question?
Is the question is to me? Is addressed to I?
Or is it?
Yeah, because the connection was bad. Is that? No, I don't catch it, Jeff. Is that to continue with my interview, or is that another?
Yeah.
The link was not doing well. Ian, can you please guide us?
No.
Jeff, do you hear Ian? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Maybe
Ian?
I can.
Okay, but we need to hear Ian. Where is Ian?
Hello, I think I'm back now. Sorry.
Yeah, you're back. Can you please guide us the question on that? Who would like us to answer, or as a matter of follow-up, or any question?
Sure. Yes. Sorry, I don't know if my screen froze, but the one question: is there cost for project sponsors to register a project in the CIP and
no.
and project facilitation platforms?
No, there is no cost at all. Let me explain that there is no any kind of cost at all for project sponsor to come and register or to request our services. Maybe Jeff, you would like to add here, because I thought that you have some intervention.
No,
please come in, Jeff.
No. Well, I think the answer is very, very clear. There are no costs. IRENA gets its funds from its member countries. All the member countries, they pay an annual fee or contribution, and some member countries give additional contributions to allow us to work on very specific fields they are interested in. And that is our only source of funds.
And Ian, something very important, the intervention of the CIP and the tools is not at the start of any projects, but it also at any point at the project cycle, meaning that, just to give you example without revealing relevant information, that some of the investors and the suppliers, when they request our intervention at the middle of project development phase, not only at the start or at project phase, as long as it's relevant to our mandate, we do. And again, free of a charge, or there is no cost associated to that at all. Thank you. I stop here.
Thank you. That's very good for us to know as trade commissioners, to be able to leverage you in those situations, and for Canadian companies to know. Another question, our climate finance team in the Trade Commissioner Service also helps SMEs try to understand the complex ecosystem of support. For example, there are many organizations offering guarantees. So how can trade commissioners get access to your knowledge on the different DFIs under the RAMP platform?
Let me take that. Very simple. Well, first of all, registering on RAMP also takes probably 2 minutes. You get a password and then you're on. The platform has a number of filters. They're fairly limited, but you choose the country, you choose the risk that you want to insure, and you click on the button and you see the list of entities, insurance companies, guarantors that could potentially have a solution. If you click on one of them, you will have the full description, not only of what do they cover, what is the minimum, the maximum capacity, but also what are the eligibility criteria, how do they look at environmental social impact assessment, what is the due diligence process, and sometimes there's much more information available. So that is the easy and direct way. If that is not enough, saying we have a name, we have an email address, we have a telephone number, and then we have a helpline that can help to answer the question.
Great, thanks, Jeff. And now a question for Michael. During the presentations, they mentioned the investment forums and the annual meetings, and the ability to bring, or for companies to participate. Wondering what your thoughts are on this as the lead for Canada in IRENA, and would you be interested in co-hosting maybe trade missions to these with the Canadian companies and trade commissioners?
Thank you very much. We have seen in IRENA presentation a series of global and regional initiatives, events, forums with a great potential for international collaboration and trade. We want to make sure Canada participates in and contributes to the events where we can share our expertise, where we can learn from others' experience, and where we can identify opportunities for international trade. In this context, obviously, Natural Resources Canada is definitely open to co-lead and co-host trade mission focused on clean, renewable energy. I just want to raise awareness of IRENA General Assembly, which is held in the 2nd or 3rd week of January every year in Abu Dhabi, UAE. The General Assembly is a very large gathering of high-level representatives from about 150, 160, 170 countries, including more than, I believe the last time there were at least 120 prime ministers, foreign affairs and energy ministers, and not to mention participation of many of the most relevant international organizations and agencies focused on renewable energy and climate change and climate finance. I'm mentioning this because the General Assembly would be a great opportunity for international collaboration and international trade promotion. Also, we need to note that Canada's representation of the General Assembly is typically led by the Minister of Natural Resources, and we include a trade delegation at that event. So mark your calendars for the next General Assembly. Thank you.
Great, Thank you, Michael. We will definitely follow up with you on that and work towards a delegation to the General Assembly, which we hope can take place in person. Now, another question, and I'll situate it a bit for IRENA, is so a lot of Trade Commissioner service clients and a lot of Canadian clean tech companies are SMEs. So with that in mind, I'm wondering what advice you would have for Canadian firms who want to access your matchmaking support.
Well, by nature, I would expect that the very large multinational companies that are involved in renewable energy, they know their way. They have banks, sometimes they fund projects purely on their balance sheet. They have very good lawyers, they have offices everywhere. So it happens that we are really useful to them, but most of the projects we are supporting are more in the range of, there are quite a number of mini grids, there are, and would be in the range of 10 to 50 megawatts. So that is typically what in renewable energy is considered SME business. But we are also working on very small projects that we can usually advise quite efficiently.
Thanks, Jeff. Now I've got one last question, and there are no more questions in the chat function. So I guess as I ask this question, I'd welcome colleagues on the line to use the raise hand function, and we will open your mic to ask the question once we're done this one. So my last one is to Jose and Jeff. For me, working in our organization with great tools and resources for Canadian companies, but perhaps not the best promotion of our offerings, I often see underutilized resources or tools and do all that I can to flag these to Canadian companies who could really benefit from using them. I wonder if there are any specific IRENA resources or tools that you would flag as extremely useful for companies, but that you feel are being underutilized.
Well, if I may, I mentioned briefly the resource, which is the repository for information. There's an outstanding amount of information there that can be used by different types of companies to get to know a country better and to actually go in depth, a lot in depth towards specific statistics regarding emissions, the renewable energy uptake in the country at that very moment, or the different types of technologies that can be can be harnessed within the country regarding renewable energy. So I would suggest that to go to resource, which is readily available to anyone that can access the web page, and you can spend immense amount of hours going through all the data and information.
Yep, resource is a fantastic tool. It's really, and it's probably the most popular tool of IRENA because it helps to assess for a given site anywhere in the world what the sun exposure is, what the wind potential is. So it really helps projects to very quickly identify and eliminate the sites where they can set up their project.
Great, thanks for that. I'd give another few seconds for colleagues. I don't see any hands raised. If you do have a question, use the raise hand function and we'll unmute your microphones.
Actually, Ian, until you give few seconds, I would like to give one more service I think is of importance for the Canadian, given that I educate myself on, but I would wait for the question to be collected and I will come at the end with it. Thank you.
Sure, actually, please go ahead, Ahmed. There are no questions yet, so we'll.
Okay, just one that to familiarize myself more with the achievement of the Canadian industry in energy at large and renewable energy specifically, I noticed that there are more than 30% of the development of the economic activities that the Canadian FDI is doing is at the largest scale utility intervention. And I would like to tell you that it's actually very much welcomed within CIP to work on that fronts. Important things. Economy of scale is going to take place more in the coming period globally, mainly in developing world, but more importantly at developed world, in order to work on combating the climate change, given that starting 2020, NDCs is becoming of more obligatory action in most of the countries. So the CIP, we're going to also to focus, in addition to the services that mentioned by Jeff and Jose, also on utility scale. And I think project, and I think this is very important for all trade commissioners, because I know that part of their work, among others, is to look at these big, what we call it, big fish in the market. Do you hear me, Ian? All colleagues?
Hello, yes, sorry.
Yes. So to continue with that, we would like to provide such a kind of service. And actually, these days, we're already working with one of the big intervention within PFS, was one of the developers or a consortium of foreign direct investors in a 100 megawatt wind in one of the countries in the MENA region. So we stand ready to provide this kind of service also with the Canadian manufacturing and trade industry along renewable energy. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, and we hope to follow up with another webinar in the fall for Canadian companies. So we'll
absolutely, that will be our honor to support that.
Great. Well, we're hitting the end now, and there are no further questions. So I'd just like to extend a thank you to Michael from NRCan, and to you, Ahmed, and Jose and Jeff, for your informative presentations today. If trade commissioners have further questions or want additional information on IRENA, you can connect in through Michael, through myself, and we'll provide all the presentations, including contacts for Jeff, Ahmed, and Jose following the presentation. So with that, I thank everyone for joining. Thank you, presenters, and have a good day, good night for everyone around the world.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Michael.
everyone.
Thank you, Muzari. Thank you, Mike. And greetings to Mr. Zari. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.